welcome to another episode of Hollywood Knitter. My name is Allison. It is January 1st, 2023. Happy 2023, everybody. And I'm recording from my home in Los Angeles, California. You may notice I have a bit of a different background. I am making things work. I am in my bedroom. I'm actually standing, which I've never done before. But I have been meaning to record a podcast. It's the first of the year, want to start as I intend to go, and my landlords, who are, I think this is the second time in the 8 years I've lived here that I've met them, had decided that they are going to redo my back deck, which does need it themselves, and have underestimated the amount of time it will take the two of them to do. So they've been working on it. They were supposed to be done Friday. They work Saturday, they work Sunday. Now they're telling me they're going to be working, until the end of this week. So unfortunately, where they're rebuilding the deck is right next to my second bedroom that we kind of use as an office that I've been recording in. And they're back there making lots of noise, cutting things and talking and etc. And then the boyfriend is home downstairs because it's the first and we're off. And so that leaves me with the bedroom. And I don't really have a great place with light and everything to record. So this is my shift. I have a window behind me, and we just had a crazy weird rain, like 10 minutes of really intense rain, and now the sun is out. But the light could go in and out because it looks like it's still a little cloudy. We probably have some type of little weird storm thing coming through. We had a lot of rain for New Year's last night. But it's been a while. It's probably been 2 months. I have a lot to catch you up on. Hope you'll forgive me with my weird setup, and yeah, it is what it is, right? You'll all forgive me. So yeah, 2023. I hope everyone's 2023 starting off well. Mine is starting off well. I've done a lot of thinking and prepping, and I'll talk to you about some of my knitting goals, maybe some of my life goals. I know a lot of people don't necessarily like resolutions. They are anti-resolution. I like the new year as a way to kind of reset, and they're goals, not requirements, and things I would like to do, and writing it down and tracking and doing some things help me maintain it. And then I can check in throughout the year and kind of see if I'm doing, and again, they are general things I would like to do anyways, and it's just a way I like new beginnings. I like the new year. I like it as a way to start new habits. So, but anyways, let's talk about knitting. Excuse me as I grab my notes. I have quite a few FOs because it's been 2 months. So we will start as soon as my note app wants to open. We'll start with what I'm wearing. It is my longest one. So I completed the Maima by Megan Nodecker. This took me about 2 months to do. I finished it in early November, and it is Suburban Stitcher sock in Oslo. And I used about 1650 yards. And it is this cardigan I'm wearing. So I'll step a little forward. You can kind of see it is just an open front, like my skulls or my dancing skeletons. But it is just an open front, kind of like a half fisherman, kind of brioche, but all in one thing. My sleeves are kind of 3/4, and the back is all of that textured stitch, which is why it took forever. I did alternate skeins because of obviously hand-dyed yarn, color differentiating, and then if you go, I'm gonna take it off real quick. It was like the perfect weight. So it's just really loose, but you can kind of see where some of the this color scheming, like this was a darker one, this was a lighter one, but with the alternating, it worked really well. And then just kind of a rib bottom. The only thing about it, which I'm not 100% sold on, is because of my pickup around, you pick up and knit a little ribbing kind of for your edge. It does not go flat. It kind of flares in because this is a little tighter. That's the only thing I'm not 100% sure on. I'm gonna wear it more because, as I said, it's just a loungy open front, which is what I wanted. Fingering weight, love the neutrality of this kind of colorway. It's got like kind of some cream base and some browns and, you know, some golden, and it's just a really awesome neutral. So yeah, so I'm loving it. Worn it a few times. It's just a good light layer. So that's the Maima by Megan Dodecker. If you're looking for a cardigan, fingering weight, as I said, once you learn kind of the stitch, it's very easy. It's just fingering weight, and it is a stitch pattern, and it is slow, or it was for me. What's next? Socks. I finished a pair of socks. I'm gonna kind of prop this. I finished a pair of socks for, originally it was going to be for me. I'm calling these my dark baptism socks. This is Nomadic Yarns and Dark Baptism colorway, which was inspired by the witch show, Sabrina. I almost said Serena. On Netflix, and so I really liked it. So originally I started making these for me, but then I changed my mind kind of halfway through. So I did start with my toe, which is a little smaller than the boyfriend's, but then I just increased, and so I did it for him. I did kind of a different kind of gusset. Instead of starting here and kind of going really quick increase, I started further back and did a slower kind of increase to get to the higher heel. We'll see. He hasn't worn them yet. They will stay on the sock blockers until I need to replace. He has a very, very full sock drawer right now. I think he's got like 16 pairs or so. I need something to blow out before I can put the new pair in. So instead, these will reside on the blockers for a little while. I do love the yarn. It's interesting because it's a sparkle yarn, which you can kind of see it a little bit. He won't mind. And then I forget what this contrast was, just some contrast I had. Yeah, so another pair of socks. I knit these. These are kind of my October, November socks that I did. And then the next things I have are all hats, because, you know, hats are easy. Hats, I had a lot of travel while I was I traveled for like 2 weeks, so hats are easy to bring. First one, this is called the milkweed hat. Oh my goodness, look at this orange. It's really hard. It's actually kind of a cabled kind of thing, which it's a very bright kind of thing, cabled and some eyelets. But I mean, well, I picked up the yarn because it is my color, and I'm actually keeping this. It was super fast. It was the milkweed hat by Kalura Hudson. And then my yarn was something I picked up at Zombie Apocalypse, and it was Slipping Stitches Slothy Kern Bulky. And I used about 100 yards. Yeah, it's just my color. Super bright orange. It's like blowing out on the video. And it was just a pattern. It was a skinny yarn I got, you know, with nothing in mind. And so it was time to make it into a hat. So this will go into my hat stack, which I have too many hats. It might be time to go through and see if I can donate any. Oh, gosh, I love this color though. Love it. The other two hats are definitely intended for charity hats. The first one was a pattern I knit called the Coin Flip Hat by Shayna Lines. And Shayna is someone who goes to Zombie Apocalypse. She's a great designer, knit a few of her patterns, and this was a hat she had shown the designer showcase, and I decided to do it with some minis I have. This was a mini set I had that was Invictus Yarns. I think I had a set of 8 minis, and so I just took them and balled them up and kind of created this hat on the fly. You knit kind of the two pieces, and then you knit them together with this. So you can see it's just very colorful, very kind of here. I was alternating, kind of doing some things, and then I did solids on here, and then I did a rolled brim. And I did the biggest size because I was going to make it as a charity hat, and that way, plus I wanted to use up as much of the yarn as possible. And so, yeah, and it fits my giant head, so it will fit somebody. And it's gonna going to my charity box. I'm not sure when my charity hats will go this year, but it will go to someone. So yeah, so this was a great travel knitting because it was little yarns and super easy garter stitch and interesting enough construction, but not too complicated. And yeah, so loved it. I'll probably make another one at some point. This is the coin flip hat by Shayna Lines. And the yarns are Invictus yarns, which has great yarns. And then the last hat I finished, this is the Flea Nisi by Veronica Kors, and this is an Aptos DK, which is a wool with natural dye. This is indigo dyed, and I did it with a really long kind of brim. Originally, originally I had this idea that this might be for my sister's boyfriend. So he works, they have a farm as a second home and a lot of animals, and he's out there. So that's why I made it so long, to cover ears, to do double. I'm figuring this is wool. I might still give it to him. And then it has just that cool kind of cabled pattern here. And yeah, and then the only thing about the yarn is the indigo dye came off of my fingers, which was annoying, not unexpected, but yeah. And this was just to use it up. So this will go into the gift box, whether it's be for charity or if it would be for him for next year. Maybe I'll just give it to him for next year. I'll put it aside. He does appreciate my hats. When I saw him over Thanksgiving, he talked about, last year I'd given them like a box of hats so they could just have them and throw them on. And he says that they do that all the time. And you know, he's always throwing on a hat, and every time I go there, most of them are wearing a hat that I made at some point. The last FO, which I finished last night, I made a huge push to finish last night. And this is my Moss Stitch blanket. My fingering weight held double. 72 inch by 72 inch. It's so awesome. Yeah, you can kind of see, and you can see my far away, you can see like my stripey patterns, kind of unintentionally striped. And this up close is just all the colors from minis and stuff. This is my markers for my monthly progress. I haven't taken them out yet. And it is all done. I finished, this is the end. I finished with like a brown. I actually have weaved the end on one side. I do have a few more ends to weave in, but then I'm done. I can't even hold it up. This is a monster, as I said, 72 inches by 72 inches. I weighed it this morning. It is about 7 pounds, which equates to about 13,000 yards of fingering weight in here. So it's a lot. And I did that purely based on weight. Oh God, I love it. It is warm, but not, it's a crocheted, but it's not wholly, like you can't really get my fingers through there too well. The intent is it will probably be on my bed in the spring, my bed behind me. Once I go to a lighter blanket, we have our winter blanket on our like big duvet that is super hot. But I go to a lighter blanket, this will be like an extra. So yeah, let me throw that. Really wanted to finish it. So in November, I didn't knit on it or crochet on it at all because of my traveling and things like that. And then I was like, okay, so I'll donate a lot of time in December. My original plan was to finish it January, February, but then I was like, you know what? I want to finish it. And so I have, for the last 2 weeks, been crocheting a lot I did 16 inches in December. So to get to actually the length is 72 by wide by 74. Just because of where I ended up, I wanted to use the last few of the minis that I had wound up, so I went a little longer. But it's done. I finished it. I started on January 1st, 2022. Finished it December 31st, 2022. And no blanket for me this year. going to take a year off because I have some plans for some other projects that I will work on. And those are all of my whips. Yes. No, FOs. Guys. Now I'm going to show you my whips. I have 2. Yes, only 2, because that blanket is giant. And so that was another reason I needed to finish it, is because it did suck a lot of time. I want to do other projects, and so I need to make some time for that, and not having the blanket will make it easier to do. All right, so my whips, I started a pair of Christmas socks, and this is West Yorkshire Spinners Hollyberry that I picked up, and these are socks for me. I started these in mid-December just to kind of have around for, you know, travel and meetings and Christmas celebrations. I actually finished one sock over last few days and got quite a bit done toe-wise on the next one, and I will focus on getting these done within probably another week or so. I am gonna dedicate some time because I want to, these are going to be obviously Christmas socks for next year. I don't really have a lot of Christmas socks, so. And then I didn't do, like, I just did a fish lips teal, kind of did my own thing. Basically it's a 68 stitch foot, and then it's a 74-inch leg because my leg's a little thicker. Yeah, so hopefully I'll get these done. And then the other project that I've been working on, and it is slow going, but so lovely, is my Birch Pullover by Andrea Mowry. And I'm knitting this in the Zombie Yarns Lily and Tiger that I got at Stitches West 2022. This was some fingering weight yarn. She was getting rid of all her skeins for $5. So I picked up many a sweater quantity. And this is what it's looking like so far. This is a half fisherman rib, I think. And it is lovely and squishy, and I am alternating because one definitely has more orange speckles than the other. It is cream. It's got a little bit speckle of gray. I didn't know, her necklines go up too high for me, so I didn't actually cast on the neck. I just did a provisional cast on, and I'll come back and figure out what I want to do. I am working on this since November, so almost 2 months, and I'm almost to splitting for the sleeves. It's just slow going, and as I said, I've dedicated a lot of time to my blanket. It takes me about 15 minutes for each round. I mean, it's a lot of stitches right now. It's fingering weight. I'm on size, this is getting knit on size 2s, I think, 3s. It's a lot, but I love it. And it will be the best pullover ever. It's gonna be so squishy, so me, so awesome. Anyways, I'm wanting to dedicate a little more time to it. I gotta, oops, my needle's coming out. I gotta dedicate some time to it. So I'm going to, kind of how I like to do it is some mini goals. So for me right now, like the increases are every 6 rounds. So I do one of those a day. I'll be able to split for the sleeves by the end of the week and then go from there. So that's probably how I will motivate myself to keep working on it. And try not to cast on too many other projects. Right now I have the socks, I have this. I am going to talk about my my knitting goals and things like that, but as part of that, I might have another project or 2 on the needles. So what else has been going on? So I traveled. I hung out with some wonderful friends in Florida for a week in November, and I got some goodies as a result of that. I'll show them. My friend Janice made this beautiful project bag, and also some beautiful yarn that I will be knitting some socks up with. And then my friend, I got an awesome hat for my friend Martha, which it's over here. I'll actually put it on. I wear it a lot. It's this great kind of hand spunny hat, and it's just the best. She made a hat, and then I got a great bag for my friend Holly, and then some yarn. So yeah, yarn acquisitions. This was one that went in. She had it split, so I can't remember what it is, but it's a great color. And then the only other yarn acquisitions, I did have a yarn advent from Fiber Nymph. I actually really liked it because it is instead of hand painted, it is tonals to solids. So 24 of those, and I got it in a variety of, all fingering, but I got like a Tweety base, I got sparkle. And so now I have a lot of great colors for toes and contrasting for socks and small projects like that. So really happy with that. And then the last skein for Christmas is self-striping, and this is just calling it Midwinter Mountain Morning. And I just love these colors, and I love a self-striping. So little bit of yarn acquisitions, but not too much. And so as I said, we hung out in Florida for a week. Awesome, so relaxing. And then from there, I went up for Thanksgiving with my family in Rhode Island, and we actually did Thanksgiving on the Sunday before Thanksgiving, and then my mom and I went to New York, and then the rest of the family came a few days later, and we went to the Thanksgiving Macy's Day Parade, which is something that we had grown up doing. We had talked about many years. Hey, wouldn't it be great to someday go? And we decided, well, my sister really pushed it, but she just had booked something, a hotel, I don't know, January, February of last year, and so we went. It was my brother's birthday. He has a birthday that, you know, every few years is on Thanksgiving, and it was a lot of fun. So my sister and her boyfriend and my nieces came. My niece Abby is 3 and Sky is 12, and then my brother, my mom, and me. And it was an experience. We had to get out on the parade route. We were staying about 3 blocks off, over near Central Park, and Midtown kind of area. And then we were like 3 or 4 blocks off. We got up really early. We went over and we parked ourselves and waited about 3.5 hours for the parade so that we could be right at the front. And good timing. I mean, we got one of the last spots. I think we probably should have gotten out there at 5 to really get the, you know, ideal spot, but we did get a good spot everyone could see, and then we hung out and for quite a few hours. It wasn't bitterly cold, which was awesome. You never know, but cold enough, you know, you're sitting there, you're not moving, you can't really get out, you don't want to give up your spot, keeping a 3-year-old entertained. Yeah, so, and then when we came down, it was fun. You saw people coming through. It's a lot different from what you see on television. When you see it on television, you see all the performances and all the singers, which they really do that for television. Not if you're just on a random spot walking down the parade route. But we did get to see all the balloons. We'd actually seen the balloons the night before where they blow them up over near the Natural History Museum. And so that was pretty cool. Yeah, so it was just a fun Thanksgiving. And then afterwards we just chilled and had pizza for Thanksgiving dinner because it had been a long day and it was cold. And then I flew back on the Friday from New York. From there, I'd been gone almost 2 weeks at that point. So got back and got into the grind. Yeah, and then the only other, I just came back yesterday. We did a quick trip kind of a New Year's thing, but not a New Year's thing. I had some free night certificates from Hilton's to use up that were expiring. So we went out to La Quinta Resort in Palm Springs area and just stayed there for 2 nights. It's a really nice resort. We just stayed on resort and did nothing. We just ate and read a book and I knit and watched stuff, and it was nice to relax. It's hard to do even when you're off and you're at home, like you're not truly relaxed. There's always little projects you gotta do or this or that, but when you actually are out and yeah, we just relaxed. And so we came back for New Year's and did our traditional New Year's of no plans. We did make it up to midnight. We watched all the random shows that are on and made it to midnight. It was raining in LA, and said Happy New Year and went to bed, which we've done, I think, for the last 5 or 6 years, which is nice, surprisingly. One of the things I want to show you that my mom had given me, because my mom is a quilter, is she made me this awesome bag, this awesome tote bag. These are all little tiny scraps of fabrics. This is a technique she did, and then she machine stitched kind of a pattern. So it's a great little tote bag, and I love the green inside. It's what I had just brought all my projects up with, and I will probably be bringing it somewhere because it's a great size tote for things. We had Christmas. It was a very laid back Christmas. We went to his family's. They do a midnight Christmas with all the kids, so we did that, and then actually had to leave before the bitter end. We left at 3 in the morning so we could get back to the house so that I could open FaceTime presents with my family at 4 in the morning because it was 7 a.m. Eastern time. And I did that for about an hour before I crashed. So it's a very, very long Christmas, and then we didn't do too much afterwards. My main gifts this year from the boyfriend was he got me a Coach purse, which is always nice. He actually buys me a lot of purses. Most of the purses I've carried the last few years have been ones he bought me. So, which is great. It's a great splurge. It's something I would never buy for myself, but it's beautiful and I like it and I'm already using it. So that's nice. What else? 2022. Let's go a bit over knitting goals for last year and kind of revisit and see where I ended up and what my goals are for this year. I have like a whole note on it. I've been keeping notes on my knitting goals and like how many projects I've done and how many yards and kind of where I wanted to do since 2020. It's going to open 2013, 14. So I'm pretty consistent in terms of my number of projects. I tend to be between 30 and 40. 35 is usually my average. I usually do about 12,000 to 13,000 yards. And that kind of thing. So last year I had a 2022 goal of start having 10% less in the stash at the end of the year than when I started. And I was a fail. Last year I started at 43,440 yards and I ended with 44,340 yards. Mainly because of Stitches West and buying all those sweater quantities for $5 a skein. So in the end, I do have less items, which means I did get rid of kind of more single skeins and things like that, but I did add some sweater size quantities. So it's okay. Continued charity knitting. I had a goal of wanting to do 4 mother bears, 4 hats, and 10 knockers. I did not do any mother bears. It's actually been a few years since I've done some. But I did do 11 hats for charity and 8 knockers. So I will call that a success. I wanted to use all my yarn that was 2016 or older. And this is a continuing goal pretty much every year. I have 2 partial balls left that are pre-2014. I did use all my yarns from 2015. And I do have, I start from 2016. I started with 10 items, some full and partial, and I ended with 3. 1 full and 2 partial. So I would say pretty successful. I use most of them. And the ones that I haven't yet is a goal for this year. My Make 9, which is, Make 9 is kind of a thing. It's been going a few years where you pick, the 9 projects you want to do. For me, it's always 9 projects using stash yarn. And last year I had 2 sweaters, the Maima and the Recalibrate, both of which I finished. I finished all my Make 9, spoiler. But the 2 sweaters were on there and I finished both of those. I had 7 hats and I did all of those. Most of them went to charity, though 1 or 2 came in. And then I had 1 shawl, the Storm by Joji, which I did finish, which is up on my shawl board. And then the last thing I wanted to do was I wanted to do about 1/3 of my crochet blanket and I finished it. So success. This year, my goals, and so for last year, 2022, I did 31 projects, of which the total yardage is 24,500. over half of it, 13,000 of it is that blanket. So the other 30 projects were basically 11,500, which is about average, a little less than I do. I do a lot of hats, but I ended up doing 17 hats, 31 total projects, 17 hats, 8 pairs of socks, 1 shawl, 3 sweaters, 1 other, which was my knitted knockers, as I counted them, and then 1 blanket, of which 16 of them were for charity, 5 were gifts for other people, 9 items were for me, and 1 item went into my gift box, meaning I don't have a home for it. So, pretty good. It was a pretty good year. I mean, I'm super excited finishing that blanket and getting all of those minis, and that's beautiful. I love blankets. For 2023, as I said, no blanket this year. It'll probably be the 2024 goal. I still have the same goal of having 10% less stash than what I started with, and we'll see if I get some sweaters out and limit buying. I might be able to get there. So just 10% down, which puts me just a shy under 40,000 yards in my stash. I want to continue charity knitting. I'm doing both hats and try to get some other bears this year. I do have a fair amount of stash that I actually don't count that's like charity yarn stash. I want to use all the yarns in my stash that are 2017 or older. Pre-2016, that is 4 items, 1 full skein and 3 partials. And for 2017, it is 16 items, 11 full, 5 partial. So to do that, I have designated my Make 9, which is all stash yarns, and focusing on using those older yarns is what I've tried to do. And I have 2 hats on the list, the Pressed Flowers hat and the Boneyard hat, and a cowl, 2 cowls actually, a 2-color cowl from Pearl Soho and 1 called Strawberry Mountain. I have 1 shawl, the Moonflower shawl. I can't remember what that was. I went through and specifically was looking for patterns to go with the yarn that I had. Socks, 2 pairs of socks, the Tadpoles and the Breakwater. One of these is a DK weight or sport weight set of socks, and the other one is just kind of a cool color work to use a partial skein I had. And then 2 sweaters in Stillness, which is, I think I've had it in my list for a while, but it is a pullover sweater, and then a V-back t-shirt, which I'm going to be doing with scraps, partial skeins of fingering to do it kind of a t-shirt. And then the last thing I want to do is I want to podcast once a month. I'm so hit or miss. I think I just need to make the plan of getting on here the first of every month and showing you what I got. So those are my knitting goals for next year. Life goals, from last year, it was a lot of adulting, and I did pretty good at that. Finally made it to the doctor in December, and as a result, I have 4 more doctor's appointments for follow-ups and things. I think it had been 5 years since I'd been to my general practitioner. In fact, I know it had. It'd been right after I turned 40, and I am 46 now. And I said, oh, you know, doc, it'll be another 5 years. And he's like, no, you need to start coming in every year. So I have to be better about that. I do have to, the appointments I have are like, I have a mammogram. I haven't had one of those in a few years, and some other kind of screening type of exams. So I'm going to try to adult and do that. Relationship goals, which I have every year. I need to incorporate a little more date nights. We love when we go out, but we get very homebound. Yet you need that change in scenery. So I'm going to try to be more planning of an actual date night, and get like tickets. We love to go see shows. We love to go see plays, and just buying them and making those plans. He won't make the plans, but if I make the plans, he'll go. So we'll do that. Continue my investments. This year, as part of my adulting, I opened up my first ever solo investment account, and I've been consistently doing that and investing in ETFs and bonds. And that was as a result of a class by Dumpster Doggy I took about basically investing and creating wealth for yourself, which was great. So I'm going to continue doing that. continue my savings goals, and most of my savings goals are geared around retirement. I have a little bit more adulting to do. I did not get to the lawyer to get my, I need to do a will and some of that stuff. So that is on my list to try to do at the first half of this year. Connections, keep up connections with friends. I have a lot of friend travel I'll tell you about that is upcoming, which I like to do, but then I just need to be better about reaching out. I'm a horrible texter. I am. Horrible conversations. It's not that I don't think of people, it's just, it's not, it's random texting and stuff is not my normal. And so, but it is nice to let people know you're thinking about them and, you know, that kind of thing. And so I appreciate when I get it, and I really should try to be better about reaching out and doing that for other people. This year, I want to continue giving back. I'm going to up my monthly donations for various charities and try to branch out into new charities. And I'm also going to try to find some place to give some time to. Time is a little more precious for me just because I'm still working a lot, but I think I would feel more enriched. I don't have necessarily a charity that I have in Los Angeles. Over the years, I've done various things for various people, but yeah, that's my goal. Health, always, as I said, doctor's appointments, movement. I have let myself definitely become a lot too sedentary pretty much since COVID, and then but COVID's been over. I've just a combo of being really busy and just not making a priority. So I'm going to try to shift my priorities and make simple movement or more incorporating more just walks into my daily life. And so in order to create that habit, I have to plan for it though. And so that's what I'm going to be doing. Enrichment, reading more books. I looked and I finished 34 books last year. Now, to be fair, most of my books are not, fun books. I don't tend to do really thick, lengthy, have to think a lot about my books. But I love reading. I love the escapism. I love characters. I love going back and revisiting characters. That's why I read series. I'm going to try to combine with some of my goal for movement with audiobooks and kind of do both of those. But I did finish 144 books this year. I think last year was like 154. That is a lot. So my goal will be probably 120, so we'll see how we go. Because if I do audiobooks, audiobooks are actually slower for me, but then it's a combo of being able to knit or, exercise. So do that. And then I'm going to try to journal a little bit this year. And then keep on my resolutions by using my journal. And I actually just use a little mini Moleskine. I've had this for a number of years. And it's nice to go back, and I don't need to be precious about it, kind of thing. I do lists. Some days I write what I do, my goals, and yeah. So I'm going to try to use this more this year. My goal is I think I'm halfway through the book, is to use the rest of the book up this year. But this is where I've kind of written down my goals, and I'm going to do a monthly tracking, kind of daily tracking, just to kind of keep check-in so that I can keep refocusing on what I want to accomplish. And then, yeah, my knitting goals. In addition to the goals I talked about, my goal is to do 15 minutes of knitting every day. Sometimes I get caught up and I don't get any knitting done during the week, and I think I can do better than that. Part of that is maybe I have a little bit too addiction to some online games that I might pull back on. In fact, I know I'm going to pull back on. And then just trying to incorporate more at work. In the beginning, when we had a lot of the meetings, I was doing really well with knitting during a meeting, so I was paying attention, and I've kind of fallen back into doing emails. I'm going to try to swing back again, and if I have a meeting that I really should be paying attention to, instead of being distracted by emails, to take up my knitting and force myself and do it that way and get 15 minutes of knitting in there. That's how those socks are going to get done. So that's kind of where I'm at for 2023. I think I'm going to try to do maybe a quarterly check-in, kind of see where I'm at, with some of these things to kind of keep on it. I do pretty good with my Make 9 though. And how I track my Make 9 is it's all in Ravelry and it's in my queue. So I go through and I label them into the notes. They're the first 9 and they're called the Make 9. So I can constantly go back and see, okay, what should I be doing on? And knowing that those projects are all stash and go towards my goal of getting rid of old yarns. Travel. You know, I love travel. I actually have a ton of travel, knitting related, in February. I am going to Vogue Knitting Live with some friends, so that will be fun. My 3rd time back in New York in, gosh, 6 months. So that's a lot. I hadn't been in New York, I think, before that in at least 10 years. But anyway, so I'll be going to Vogue Knitting New York over in February. And then I am going the following week or 2 weeks later to the Virginia Beach Yarn Getaway. I try to go to that every other year. A ton of my friends go. And so this year I'm just doing it. And so I'll be going to that. And then I come back and then the following weekend go to Stitches West Sacramento. So it is a busy, busy February into early March for me in terms of travel, and all of it knitting related. It's just awesome. So many, get to see so many of my friends. And then the other things that are on the book is April 2023, the Northern California Knitting Retreat I will be attending. And in June, I will be attending Zombie and Apocalypse. Other trips, some possibilities. I definitely want to get an international trip in this year. Maybe it might end up being Costa Rica because the LA Football Club, which is a soccer team that we are season ticket holders and fans of, are in the international tournament, and they play a team in Costa Rica, right in the capital, in March, I think mid-March. And so we might be going to that. We'll have to probably play out in the next month or so. But if that doesn't, I definitely want to do an international trip this year, so I'll have to figure that out. And then I'm sure there'll be some family trips and stuff in there, and some other things. So I think that's all I have for today. The sun has come out. I'm going to put all this stuff away. I have some yarn to wind. I'm going to finish my blanket and get the last bit of ends. That will take me probably an hour or two. And then I'm going to, I need to take pictures of it. I'll probably try to do that tomorrow. And then I'm going to fold it up and just look at it, put it somewhere where I can just stare at it until I actually put it on my bed in a few months. And yeah, and I think that, and then I think we're going to play some, hopefully a board game or so today. We have an insane number of board games. My boyfriend is a collector, and that's one of my goals is I love playing board games, but we don't do it enough. And that's partly because of me and this. You know, I like to just relax and do my knitting, but I can play board games and knit too. So I'm going to try to be a little better about doing that this year and being ready for it, and just do more stuff. Just kind of rock myself out of my rut. I hope everyone's having a wonderful beginning of their year. I hope everyone had a wonderful holiday, Christmas, whatever else you celebrate, New Year's. Whether you make resolutions or not, you know, just looking forward to 2023. After the last 2 years, I'm hoping it will be better, and yeah, it should be fun. Anyways, that's a wrap from Hollywood, where fantasy meets fiber and dreams are knit. Bye, everybody.